New Scientist says this is hugely readable. I agree. So we're talking about 2061. This is the sequel to 2001 and 2010. 2001 was published in 1969. Arthur C. Clarke was 51 years old when he wrote this, which is really hard to believe. It's an amazing movie, very weird at the end. When you read the book, you finally understand what's going on at the end. And then there was 2010. This was published in 1982, and this is another great entry in the series. Sometimes sequels don't live up to the promise, and in this case it does. This is a great book. And so we come to 2061. This was published 5 years later in 1987, and this is great as well. I really can't go into too much detail about the plot without spoiling the previous books. Suffice it to say that there's one of the original guys from 2010, and he gets to go on a trip to visit Halley's Comet, because 2061 is when Halley's Comet is actually coming back around the sun. And then there's other stuff that happens out at a colony near Jupiter, but I'm not going to go into any detail about that. Clarke writes in a very enjoyable and engaging style. He does some great world building. It's always fun reading science fiction to see what an author will predict. So this was written in 1987. So what were some of the predictions he had? Obviously there were the predictions that he had in the original novel 2001, talking about like AI, like the first computer to beat a human at chess. And he wasn't actually too far off the date that he gave there. In this one he has some funny predictions. He basically says that there's peace on Earth. He basically says that there's world peace in 2061, and that's for two reasons. One is that long-distance phone charges are abolished in the year 2000, which is kind of, yeah, I mean, you know, with the rise of the internet and being able to use that for almost free, basically, yeah, long-distance phone charges just collapsed, okay. And so because there's no long-distance phone charges, there's more communication around the world. And then the other thing he says is that there are so many tourists around the world that it doesn't make sense for, say, Russia to attack America, because there are too many Russian tourists in America. And so why would they send missiles across and bomb America when there's a whole bunch of Russian people there, and vice versa, a whole bunch of American people over in Russia? So that one, yeah, not quite coming to pass. So this book has great prose in it. Clarke is 70. He had obviously learnt his craft by this point in time. There's great narrative drive in this book. There's exciting discoveries. The descriptions are all great. There's all this exploration going on. And there's those kind of small mysteries about, oh, what are they going to see there? And what's going to happen next? That is very effective at wanting you to keep reading. And as I was reading this, I was enjoying it so much, I was thinking, oh, this is a definite 5-star read. And it was very enjoyable, but there's just not enough payoff at the end. It had a reasonable conclusion and a couple of surprises, but there was just nothing earth-shattering. Which, funnily enough, is the same complaint I had about the ending of 2010. But otherwise, I think it's a fantastic book that any sci-fi reader will enjoy. If you want something to compare it to, maybe The Martian is the closest I can think of, with that kind of scientific discovery and wanting to know what's going to happen next. Just none of the humor of The Martian. So is it better than the first two? Well, I think the first one is still the best. They're all great. I think this one is potentially a little bit better than 2010. So I highly recommend, if you're going to read this one, go on and read the sequels. I'm always interested. Have you read this book? Have you read the series? Have you read all 4? And do you agree with all the stuff I've said? Leave a comment down below, like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. See ya.